Mistakes? Mistakes? No, not mistakes. I don't make any mistakes. I'm superpilotish. Welcome to the superpilotish channel. My name's Graham Wilson, and today I'll be talking to you about five common mistakes that every instructor makes in my basement. So I was trying to think what to do today. Yesterday I had five on the brain, so today I'll also have five on the brain. And I was just kind of looking in the back here. Oh, my hair's sticking out. It's getting a bit long. That's cool. I chopped it usually for the summertime, but all right, no little rat tail sticking out now. Okay, back on topic. Yeah, so there was I was going to talk about the five mistakes that instructors all make at one time or another. Now, ideally, you learn from your mistakes, and you got to remember too that everybody makes mistakes. The only people that don't make mistakes are, I don't know, calculators. They don't really make mistakes. But other than that, you're going to make mistakes. If you're human, you make mistakes, and so do instructors, and the students certainly do. So, but you learn from them and you get better. So that was why I wanted to talk about these today. So I'm the five that I'm going to talk about are I wouldn't say that they're necessarily in order. This is the most important. This is the least important, but yeah, they are mistakes. I've made them myself from time to time. I've seen other instructors do that. I've supervised other instructors that have made the mistakes. I have heard about these mistakes. So they're pretty common. And I bet you if you run this by your chief flight instructor or even your instructor, they're going to say, oh, yeah. So here we go. I'm going to whip out the whiteboard. No, what's a VG Meats. I don't know. I went and bought some ground beef from a local farmer a little while ago there, and this was the box that it came in. So here we go. Five mistakes that we make here. That's right, Jordan. Five. Okay, so we're gonna go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we'll say start off with number 5, and so I mean every pilot out there likes to show off how awesome they are, just about. And so when there's a really high tendency at first anyways, when you're an instructor, to like, wow, I'm getting paid to fly, but you're really getting paid to watch. So one of the big mistakes is flying the plane too much. So I know this one girl, she learned how to fly, and she was telling me she was a really good pilot. Flew with her a few times, and like much years after she got her license, and she was telling me about how she just hated learning how to fly at the beginning because her instructor was so terrible, and he was always flying the plane too much. She was saying, yeah, he would take off, we'd fly out there, we'd do a few spins, and then he would fly back and land. I didn't learn anything. So she eventually brought that up with the chief flight instructor, and things got corrected, and she went on to be a very good pilot. So yeah, so flying the plane too much, ideally you want your student to do all the work and you just sit back. And another thing too, that if your student's doing all the flying, like you don't make any mistakes, so you can say like, oh yeah, that wasn't quite good enough, let's try that again. Meanwhile, you wouldn't be able to do it any better yourself, but you know the student doesn't see that at first, right? Eventually you get really good, but at first you can just like use that to your advantage. So okay, flying the plane too much, let your student do it. And that applies for anything. It's like I've worked at machine shops where guys, they say, okay, go train for a week with this guy. And I'm like, cool, I get to get my hands on a new machine, a little CNC mill or something, or CNC lathe. And it's like, all right. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, let me get in here. And then the trainer's like, oh no, we got to make money here. We got to go, just watch. So, I mean, I've had it before where I just stood there and watched for a week, like watching this guy. And I tell like the guy, hey, take a break. I can do something here. I'm trained, or I've worked on other machines like this. Oh, no. Okay. And then I went and tell the boss, and the boss says, "Oh, how's the training coming along?" I'm like, "The guy's not letting me touch the machine." And well, the foreman didn't care. He walked away. Oh well, glad I'm not working there anymore. Okay, so yeah, so number four. Yeah. Um, we'll say okay, everybody learns at different rates. Some are, some people you'll tell them once, they remember it. Other people it just doesn't stick. You got to repeat it a few more times. Or some people have a particular knack for something, so other people don't. But generally, when it comes to flying, just about anybody can learn how to do it if they're motivated enough to do it. If they really want to do it, they can do it. There's very few times that I've ever seen where cognitively they just can't do it. That's extremely rare. Unfortunately, it can happen that way. But usually it just takes them a lot longer if they're slow. So we're going to say our number four will be, I wrote it down here. We'll say they're like progressing too fast or too slow, or yeah, making your student progress too fast or too slow. So we'll say, okay, progress too fast. Yeah, so that could be where you're pushing your student to go through. You might have a lesson plan that you're following according to your flight school, and it says lesson plan this, lesson one, do this, lesson two, do this, lesson three, do this, and you go right by. But the student might not be ready to advance to that next item that you're teaching them. So you might be pushing them. So you can progress the student too fast, or you can also move the student along too slow. The student might be okay at this and good enough to progress to the next thing, but you're like, the instructor's not sure, maybe, or let's just try that again. And then it takes a long time for the student to get their license. So we'll say progressing too fast or too slow, or yeah, there we go. So number four, you're progressing too fast or too slow. Okay, now here's another one that's bad. Another mistake that can be could be detrimental to the student's learning, and that is false praise. We're going to write that here. I mean, you don't want to hurt your students' feelings, but sometimes they're not superstars. Okay, three, false praise. So they can be. I notice this a lot with the younger students, that they're really fishing for compliments all the time. Well, how was that? Was that okay? Was that like basically tell me I'm awesome? My teachers tell me I'm awesome. My parents tell me I'm awesome. Can you tell me I'm awesome? That was great, right? Well, that's kind of, I don't know if that's a generational thing or whatever, but yeah, you can't really. You can't say that if something was really fantastic, that's worth a compliment. That's worth some praise. If it wasn't up to flight test standards, or maybe it was just I don't know, just it could have been a little bit better. You got to be honest with your students. Don't be nasty and say that was the worst I've ever seen. So even though there's going to be someone that's done the worst that you've ever seen. I don't know. Maybe I've done the worst I've ever seen. But I always tell my students, it's like if they're a little embarrassed to go flying with me, or anxious, or especially back when I was doing flight tests with people on behalf of Transport Canada. And I would always just tell them, don't worry about it. There's nothing you could do that I haven't done worse, or my students have done worse. So I also say another thing there too. If the students and feel free to steal it if you want. It's like I'm an instructor. Don't worry, nothing can freak me out. You're gonna freak yourself out before you freak me out, and that puts them at ease. So what else we got here? False praise. Don't false praise. We're not all Maverick. Okay, another one too. For a couple reasons. Okay, for a couple of reasons here. If your lessons are too long, um, the student might be really enthusiastic and just say like, "Hey, man, I got money. Let's go rip around for 4 hours," and you're a young, you're a new instructor, and you're like, "Yeah, cool, let's do it." Well, the thing is, when you're learning how to fly initially, you really should keep the lessons to about an hour or so because that's about what your average attention span is about an hour. So after that, it becomes counterproductive basically to be flying around anymore and trying to learn new things. Yeah. So, but unfortunately, there too is that some of these starting instructors starting off are broke because it doesn't pay anything. It's junk for the pay. Cool job, it just doesn't pay anything. So yeah, so what they'll do sometimes is like, well, let's just do a couple more takeoffs and landings here. And they stretch it out to an extra point one, point two. And then like, because you got it in your head, okay, every point one of an hour, that's $2, so or $3. And then so yeah, I'll make another $5 if we fly with this guy for a little bit. And that's not good. That's what everyone in the industry calls that milking your student. It's like it's a cow. And hey, let's get that cash off that student. That is terrible, absolutely terrible. I mean, a lot of flight school owners like that because they're making more money. Student likes it, but all it's just not good for them because their attention span's only an hour, and you're just milking them, and that's not cool because that reputation will follow you throughout your career if you're one of them. And it's not. I always say it here that especially in Canada where I am, the aviation industry is extremely small here, and if you get any type of bad reputation, something it's going to follow you, guaranteed. Like you can get blackballed like that. So don't be milking any students. It's not good for you. It's not good for them. Okay, and we're gonna go number one. What do I do down here in my basement? Okay. I might have to get a new marker here pretty soon. Who knows? Okay. Here we go. Talking too much. Just what I do in my basement here. So that is actually I kind of do that's a little pet peeve of mine is that when people are talking too much, or when the instructor is talking too much, it's just like I've heard it said before that the cockpit is the worst classroom you could ever design. It's noisy. You're bouncing around. The student has all kinds of things on their mind, and if you're talking to them, it's at first especially they don't listen. They don't hear anything, and I've said that a few times here, but it's so true. You can say nonsense to them, and they'll just fly the plane and go, It's like, okay, we're gonna approach at 250 knots. All right. No, don't do that. And so you're wasting your breath talking to a student in the air in the airplane. All that stuff should be done on the ground in your pre-flight briefing, which is required by law. Every single training flight, solo or dual, must have a pre-flight briefing and a post-flight briefing. So so you're gonna do all that stuff, and then basically you can kind of take notes if you're an instructor and say, okay, I can tell the student's not picking up on that. Let's go back on the ground, cover it on the ground when there's no airplane involved, and the radio's not going off with their traffic controllers telling you what to do and everything. So so just maybe you're up in the air, you can just kind of say little things like a big one for me is when they're learning how to land. A lot of times their elevator trim is off. And if you're not a pilot, you don't know what that is really, but if you are a pilot, you know what elevator trim is. And so you can if the plane is not trimmed correctly when you're coming down to land, the speed will be off a little bit, and usually I don't know the pressure to lift the nose when you land, it'll be a little bit different than what the students used to. So okay, just ask them kind of how's your trim, And like, you don't have to explain to them on final approach when they're coming in and they're trying to keep their airspeed and they're trying to keep it lining up with the runway, and you start giving a big spiel about like, by the way, if you trim it aft trim at this point, it could release the pressure of the back pressure when we round out. And the student's like, so anyways, yeah, so just if you are an instructor, keep it to a minimum. And the thing is that I see this on YouTube videos all the time, that the instructor's sitting there just yapping away. I mean, it makes for a fantastic YouTube video, and I'm not saying, and I'm sure those instructors are pretty good. Like, generally, everything I see about them are good, but that's kind of like my little critique of any of the instructors you see on YouTube. They all talk too much, but then that makes for a good YouTube video, right? So, how important or how exciting would that be if if you just see two guys in a plane sitting there? It's pretty boring. So it's cool to give tips that way, but I don't know. Do you want to be a YouTube star or do you want to be a good instructor? It's however you want. So anyways, that's just that's my thing. So, just give them a little tip. That's about it. And then grab the controls if they're going to kill themselves or something like that. Okay, what do we got here? Wrench is in the house here too. Do all instructors charge for clock time on the ground now? It used to be just tack time. Okay. Yeah, so instructors, now the way that I've seen it at most flight schools that I've seen around where I am, anyways, is that you'll get paid strictly for the time that the engine's running, or tack time, like you were saying there, Reg. Here we have a little Hobbs meter, as they call it. We'll call it Hobbs time, but tack time is about the same. Yeah, so it's just a meter that shows how long the engine's running for. So you get charged, or you charge the student for that flight engine time. Yeah, and then included in that too, just about everywhere is maybe like a 6 to 12 minute pre-flight and post-flight briefing, where the student doesn't have to pay for that. But what a lot of places do is, and a lot of flight schools that are privately owned, where the owner wants to get a nice new truck, tells all the instructors, charge them, sit them in there for half an hour for a briefing and charge them. So it's kind of like, yeah. So usually, like I always kept my briefings to a minimum. It's like, okay, this is what we got to do. Let's go do it. Any questions? That seemed to work out fine for me. But some people, I know some other instructors, they just like to sit there and shoot the breeze and tell flying stories and stuff, and then just like, yeah, I'm gonna charge you $20 for listening to me go. Yeah, I'll tell you how awesome I am. So that overcharging thing, it can happen. Generally, anywhere that I've heard, when you're learning how to fly, it's basically just engine time and stuff like that. And then Shecky's in here too. Thanks for checking in, and same with Harold. Very good. So, and you're welcome, Harold. I love giving out these tips. So yeah, that's about it for today. What is today? Here's my usual semi-retired brain thinking, what day is it today? I don't remember. My grandmother, she used to say that she would just subscribe to the newspaper just so she could find out what day it was. But anyways, what do we got here? Wrench has got a little comment too. Okay, in Kansas, that's where Wrench lives, everyone charges for the clock, no matter the airplane hours. $15 an hour is normal. Okay. I see what you're saying there. Yeah, it's really up to the flight training school or the flight training unit. I'm sure different areas will probably have about the same way of paying their instructors and charging their students and stuff like that. So, yeah, well, that's how they do it in Kansas, I guess. It's just strictly $50 an hour if you got them. Yeah, that's a way of doing it. So, okay, so today is Friday and pizza day. Excellent. And then, what do we got here? So I will be back on Monday, and I got to think too. I keep looking at my rope over here. I'm not going to cheat though. I got one more. I forget, another couple of weeks or something like that. I got to do my last 28-day check-in for my learning all my knots. So stay tuned for that. Oh, another thing too that I wanted to tell you about is uh, if a little suggestion, I would appreciate it if you have not subscribed to my channel, to subscribe to it. It helps out. Once I get to 1,000, then I can start making some big bucks on this. Well, I don't know. It'll probably be like $5 a month or something, but I don't care. I like doing it. And but I could use some subscribers, and I would appreciate it. Another thing too is that I've started doing a little bit on Twitter. So I have a Twitter. I don't know, Twitter account, Twitter handle, Twitter. It's like at superpilotish, and it says Graham Wilson something. I don't know. So basically, I don't know. I don't have too much to say there, but I'm gonna start putting like little. I've started putting like little airplane memes on there every once in a while. I just go on like this website, make a meme, and I make up some memes. So if you want any semi funny memes, go check out my Twitter thingy. So, anyways. And yeah, there we go. And so I'll be back on Monday because I do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern. There we go. You guys have a great weekend and everything. And thanks, Monamur, for the compliment about doing the good work here. I like doing it. Yeah, all you guys in the chat, have a great weekend, and thank you for watching. We'll check you out over here. End stream. There we go. You'd think I'd be faster at this. Thanks for watching. Bye.